The global version of Ragnarok M launches on January 9th, so what I thought I would do today is give 5 tips that you want to know before starting off the global launch for Ragnarok M. Now, I will say this at the start because it is important. If you're already a more experienced player, these probably aren't really going to help you out that much. This is really going to be mostly for newer players or people who have not played the game before. With that being said, let's jump right to it with tip number 1, and this is a super important one, definitely the most important out of all of them, and that is going to be create your character or characters if you want to play more than one. Create your characters right away, even if you don't plan on playing them or you can't play the game right away. Now, this is important for a whole bunch of different reasons, but there's one really big one in particular that I want to talk about for a second, and let me log into one of my characters so I can show you. Now, it has to do with one of the most important resources in the game, and it's not the actual in-game money, which is also very important, of course, but it is something called combat time. Now, you can actually take a look at your character's combat time by going to the settings. If you go to settings here, you'll see it right there. Combat time 24 out of 900 minutes. Now, each day you end up getting 300 minutes of combat time, and at a certain time period, which is 5 a.m. GMT for the Southeast Asia version of the game, it adds another 300 minutes to your combat time. You don't have to end up using it all the same day. It actually stacks up. As you can see, I'm up to 900 minutes of combat time. So if you don't want to play the game right away, that's totally fine. Just make your character and park it somewhere so that when you do decide to play, at the very least, you'll have some extra combat time on your character so you can get a bit of an advantage to just creating your character the second before you decide to start playing. Now, there's other really important reasons as well. If you guys are pre-registered for the game, it's a little bit sneaky because it makes you pick a name, but the name that you actually pick isn't going to be the name that your in-game character has, so you're not actually reserving your name. So if there's a particular name that you want to reserve for your character or that you want to play, really important to make your characters for that reason as well. But the combat time is definitely the big one. Next up is going to be tip number 2, and that is take a few minutes to decide what jobs and what job path you're going to go down. Now, there's a whole bunch of them to choose from, and I'll actually just go ahead and show you guys some screenshots here. If you guys want some more information, I'll also leave a link in the description, but here are the different jobs and job paths that you can go down in Ragnarok M. So we have the Acolyte paths, and I'll leave them up for just a couple of seconds before moving on to the next one. We've got the Magician paths. We've got the Swordsman paths. We have the Archer paths. We have the Thief paths. And we have the Merchant paths. So take a few minutes. Obviously, the game gets pretty complicated when it comes to skills and all this sort of stuff. If you want to plan that out, if you're a more advanced player, of course, you know what to do. But if you're a newer player who hasn't played the game before, I would say at the very least, just try to figure out what jobs and what job path that you want to go down. Now, if you're looking for a recommendation, obviously everyone's going to tell you something a little bit different. I always say, play whatever you think is going to be the most fun. If you think that one thing is going to be more powerful, but you're not going to have as much fun playing that job as something else, still play the one that you are going to have more fun and that you're going to get more enjoyment out of, because, of course, this is a game after all. Now, if you're still looking for a recommendation, a lot of people are saying a great way to start off is going to be with a Magician, just because Magicians can farm a lot of Zenny, which is the in-game money, early on easily, and then afterwards you can kind of maybe pick something else. That's just what I've heard, of course. That's just a recommendation. You definitely don't have to go with anything that you don't want to, and most importantly, definitely pick the job path that you feel you're going to have the most fun playing. Next up is going to be tip number 3. This has to do with the early levels and experience. Focus on the red, which are going to be the story or the main quests, before you do the green quests, which are going to be your side quests. And also make sure to keep an eye out for blue quests as well, which are going to be your daily quests. Now, the leveling process, there's definitely a whole lot of information to talk about, which ways are going to be the best to level up. If you guys are interested in more information specifically about leveling up when the global version comes out, feel free to let me know and I can always make a separate video, but just for the very basics so you know on the actual map, because it can be a little bit confusing as a newer player, is take a look at the actual icons. You can see some of them right here on my mini map in the upper right. Those are blue, which means those are my daily quests. If it had a red exclamation point, those are going to be your main story quests. Those are going to give you a lot of experience and items, and definitely very important. Then you have green exclamation points, which are going to be your side quests, which won't give you as much experience. They won't give you as much as any. Definitely prioritize the red ones first. Next tip is going to be always be on the lookout for pictures and quick ways to get adventure experience. Now, if you haven't played the game before, you probably don't even know what adventure experience is. I still wanted to put this in here because it's very, very important as you're leveling up. If you are a newer player, if you don't really pay attention to your adventure diary, you're actually going to miss a whole bunch of stuff, and you'll just have to end up spending a bunch of time going back and doing it later. So I want to talk about it for a quick second right now. And if you go to your More button, it's the Adventure Handbook. Now, when you first create your character, you won't have this unlocked. You unlock it pretty early on into the game. But think of this as like an achievement diary for pretty much everything in the game. This thing is crazy. You have monsters in here. You have headgear. You have NPCs that you talk to. Of course, a really, really important one is pictures. You actually get a camera in the game. You go around and you take pictures. And there's two things very important about pictures that I want to mention. Now, completing things in your adventures diary is going to give you adventures experience, which is going to give you stats and different skills. You're going to get a whole bunch of different abilities that you can actually unlock with the adventure diary. But pictures are going to be responsible for a lot of this adventure experience. Now, you want to take pictures of monsters, even if you haven't fought them before, because what that's going to do is when you actually take a picture of a monster, it's going to unlock it in your monster album. So if you go around and you skip a bunch of monsters, you probably won't be getting the adventure experience if you haven't taken a picture of them first. Now, the other thing you want to look out for is this little camera icon on the mini-map right there. Now, this one is a blue camera icon. However, this same icon will have a red cross through the middle, which means that you haven't taken that picture. Now, if you find these on your map, you just want to take a picture of it, and that'll give you some adventure experience. So each zone that you visit, take a look at the camera icons and make sure that you have the pictures for those icons. Very, very important, because if you don't end up doing this, you're probably going to have to go back and backtrack later on and do a bunch of low-level stuff after you've already leveled up. So be on the lookout, take a bunch of pictures, find the ones on the map, and also take pictures of monsters that you encounter as well. And the final tip that I want to mention, this is definitely a very, very important one, is have fun. Even if it means that you're leveling up a little bit slower, that's totally fine. There's a whole bunch of stuff to do in this game besides just leveling up your character. And if you are going to get too tired, or you're going to feel like leveling up super quickly is not really going to be very enjoyable for you, that's totally fine. Work on your adventure diary, go out there, explore. There's tons of different stuff to do. And the most important thing, of course, is to always be trying to have fun. That's going to be about it for this video. That was 5 tips for starting off for newer players when the global version comes out, which once again comes out on January 9th, so very, very soon. If you guys enjoyed this video, consider subscribing to the channel for more and leaving a like as well. Really do appreciate it. And if you guys want more videos and guides for this game, feel free to let me know in the comments. If you have any feedback or suggestions, I'll take a look and respond to as many comments as I can. And with that all being said, that's going to be about it. Have a fantastic day, everyone. And until next time, this is Salt of the Salty Guild, signing out.